It is 7 a.m. in here, and I'm actually kind of happy to be back from the cold weather. It's nice just to walk around in a t-shirt in December. Whoa, this bird is huge. Where are you going? Look at that. That is gigantic. What? Now you see, this is what I'm talking about. That's the part that I missed. In Florida, you can just show up here in the middle of the winter and wear nothing but a t-shirt. I wanted to talk about ND filters today. And in particular, when do you have to use it? Should you use one? Which one should you use? How do you use them? What is their purpose? Oh, that's a cool shell. Right now, it is dawn time. It's right about before sunrise, which should be there, and I was expecting something better than that, but I'm not going to be complaining. And I am not using ND filter because the camera allows me to. So I'm recording in 24 frames per second right now, and usually the rule is to have your frame rate double of that. So 24 frames per second, double of that should be 1/50th of a second, and my ISO is 100. These are like perfect settings. I don't have to use ND filter. If it was a little bit darker, I would probably just bump up my ISO, but not too much, maybe up to 3200 or something. So in minutes, it's about to get brighter, and that is when the ND filter will come in. Pretty much what's gonna happen is the image is gonna become overexposed, just straight up white, and we will kind of need some kind of glasses. In this case, I would be using a variable ND filter. Why I like the variable ones? Because you can rotate it and kind of adjust the tint more or less. In this case, make it darker or brighter, and that way you compensate the exposure, and you're still able to keep that 24 frames per second, 1/50th of a second shutter speed, and low ISO, and your image will still be correctly exposed. So Roman, why don't you just use a higher shutter speed? So for example, you're recording in 24 frames per second, and to compensate the exposure, don't use ND filter. Let's make it 1/800th of a second the shutter speed. Well, if you do that, you're gonna eventually just break the rule. And how is it gonna affect your footage? The footage is gonna look so choppy. It's gonna kind of look like, and we don't want that. We just want a nice cinematic motion blur. You know what I'm talking about? So let's say if I would do slow motion shots, I usually would record 60 frames per second, which my camera allows me, and then I would do my shutter speed, double of that, 1/20th of a second, and ISO as low as I can to have correct exposure. And with a variable ND filter, I will just make it boom, boom, just about right enough of exposure. So right now it's not as bright yet, but I'm gonna return in just like 10 minutes probably. It's gonna be super bright, and I'll show you how exactly the ND filter works. As you notice, already the sun came out, and it's been already like 30 minutes. Wait a second, what's up with exposure? Oh yeah, so this is what it is. I haven't changed my settings yet, and this is when ND filter comes in. So you see how just everything is overexposed? Can you see me? Can you see my face? Anyways, I'm gonna put on the ND filter, this guy right here. You see it right there. We can tell what the filter is doing. The filter is pretty much the sunglasses for the lens. So I'm gonna put it on. Come on, buddy. So since it's a variable ND filter, I can tune it by just spinning it. So it acts like a shade, and the more I rotate it, the more shade I introduce. So you see what's happening? Now I'm properly exposed, and I'm maintaining the same settings using the ND filter. Isn't that nice? By the way, the time-lapse you just saw, it's pretty simple on Canon 6D Mark II, for example, or 80D, 5D Mark IV. There's a built-in feature of the time-lapse, and what it does, it just takes a bunch of pictures and it automatically puts it into a video. The settings I had are like 1/100th of a second, so you kind of saw everything in detail. But using the ND filter, like I'm using right now, you can also make your time-lapse look way cooler. You can introduce a motion effect into your time-lapse, like what I did here. Now, wasn't that cool? I think it was much cooler. And imagine using that in the streets, in traffic. That introduces so much more coolness pretty much to your shots. Using my ND filter, I was able to have long exposure shots during the bright sunlight. Therefore, I had the water all smooth and looking milky, you know what I mean? It's a little bit more work because you pretty much using the built-in, again, feature in your camera, the intervalometer. There are cameras that don't have this feature. You can buy the remote for like 15 bucks on eBay. What it allows you to do is to take a bunch of photos. Let's say each photo I was doing 4 or 5 seconds long, and I was taking photo after photo after photo after photo, and then in post I have to put them all together. So let's say if you're using again 24 frames per second, that is basically 24 photos in 1 second. You just stitch them together, and Premiere does it all with one click, so it's almost as easy as a built-in feature. So what should you take out of it? That pretty much the ND filters are just like the sunglasses for people. So when it's too bright for your eyes, overexposed, what do? You just put on the glasses on, and now you see everything good, right? That's the same thing. I mean, I wish I could rotate my glasses to adjust the shade. That could be like a new product that should come out, and maybe somebody will make it and make a whole bunch of money out of it. I don't know, but that would be cool. Imagine like oh, I got a built-in variable ND glasses, and there's a drawback with these variable ND filters though. On lens like I have right now, 16-35, it's so wide. Sometimes you can get vignetting on your image, and vignetting is, let's say, if you make it a little too dark. Let's see if I'll be able to do this. Like that. Let's see here. You will start seeing kind of like dark corners. And actually there are people that love this, some people hate it. I mean, sometimes it introduces kind of like dramatic effect to your photo, so it's cool. But if you just record in a cinematic video or a B-roll, it just doesn't look good. I don't know. Now, quick little tip to save money is to buy these adjustment rings. I love these things. So let's say if you have a bunch of different lenses and they're all different size, and you'll be like, oh my god, now I have to buy a different filter for a different lens because this lens is 82, this one is 78, this one is 67mm. That's a lot of money. There's a solution to this. It's very cheap. It's only $10-15 on Amazon, and it's a set of these rings that will fit any different lens. Let me show you. Whoop! There's a little step down there. Alright, let me show you how you do this. So here's my ND filter, it's 82mm, it fits 16-35, and here's my Sigma. This is 67mm, so they don't go together. We have these adjustment rings, which are just like 20 bucks online. They look like these. This thing all comes off, and you can adjust it to any lens you have. So just buy one huge filter for your biggest lens, put this on here. I know it's a lot of work, but you're saving a lot of money too, don't forget about that. So that's that, and then you just take off where you will put on your new lens, which is about 67mm for me. In this case I needed 3 more adjustable rings to fit this 67mm, and your lens will become a transformer and start looking like this. But therefore we just get one filter, and we have a bunch of adapters that come into play, and we have the same feature here, using the same filter, different size of lens, $15 extra, that's it. So I'm using my 35 Sigma right now with those rings and the adapters, trying to record this guy here at 1.4 and still maintaining that good aperture. Oh, it's so hard to focus, but that's insane. That is so much depth of field. Anyways, you don't want to play with this guy. This is called Portuguese Man of War. You don't want to touch them. They're pretty poisonous. At least that's what the internet says. Wow. Ah, boy. They keep messing with me. This dude almost ran me over. So what I was saying, my camera doesn't have as great dynamic range, which means I'll be pointing at the sky and I'll be pointing at the foreground, and it doesn't get as much detail as I would love to, but it doesn't do bad. I mean, it's alright. You can use these filters and the rings and still get a pretty good image in these bright, harsh conditions and have a really good shallow depth of field. I like that.